What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Yant, man. In today's video, we're going to be covering over the hit show Ozark that recently ended last year in early mid 2022. So, if anybody's not familiar with Ozark, I'll give a brief summary. This is a review, so there'll be a lot of spoilers. So, if you haven't watched the show, I recommend that you turn this off. If you would leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the page, it would help a lot. But a quick little summary is the main character, Marty Bird, is an accountant and he money launders with a couple other close friends for the Mexican cartel in Chicago and the Navarro cartel. What happens is his close friends are skimming the money from the cartel. They find this out, and of like cartels do, they handle the situation. They kill the friends, and they're about to kill Marty, but he makes a deal with them to be able to money launder $500 million in this new place that they found, the Ozarks. And when I say new place, I meant like a new business opportunity. So the Mexican cartel doesn't really think he can do it, but they give him a shot, and the rest is history. And we get further into the show. If we want a more of a description and like deep dive into actually like what all happens in the show, I'll probably retroactively go back through the seasons and review this. But right now, this video is literally just reviewing the entire series because I recently just finished it, like about a week or two ago. So, with that being out of the way, what are my thoughts and my reviews of the show overall? Well, if I had to give it a rating, I'd say it's a good 7 out of 10. When you watch this show, if you've ever watched Breaking Bad, there's a lot of similarities, and I think they really try and like hit home on the certain things. You have the main character being a family man. He's doing something very hard to do. Like with Walter White, he was cooking meth for a cartel. And then with Marty Bird, he's money laundering. Obviously, it's different, but both of them are illegal. And both of them have something to do with cartels and with their lives and their family lives being in stake. The thing that I really think Ozark misses the mark with, as far as when they try and go for that Breaking Bad situation, is the characters. And particularly my biggest issue is between the dynamic between Marty and Wendy. Wendy is his wife. And I believe if you were to go back and look at it, when you try and compare Breaking Bad to Ozarks, you'll find that it kind of stayed true to Walt, always like progressively getting deeper into the rabbit hole until eventually he got to where he was at the very end and became a monster. Where Ozark, you see that start to happen, but you never see Marty actually go down the rabbit hole that Walt went down. And I actually don't mind that he didn't go down that rabbit hole. I don't mind that because I didn't really like that for Walt's character. I felt like it was kind of like, way too much. But that's a Breaking Bad review. We'll get down into that. But I just know that it really feels like they tried to get into the Breaking Bad like atmosphere, with the characters and how they reacted and how they act in the situations that they're in. But like I said, with that being said, the issue I had was Marty was never really in control, never really cared to be in control either. He never made the point to say, "Hey, I got us in the situation. You're gonna listen. We're gonna do this, and I'll get us out of the situation." At times, he used the phrases that he'll get us out of the situation, which when you look back at it and when you're watching it, you'll realize that almost every time Marty said something, it ended up being true. Like if he suggested to do this, and the other character said no, they're not going to do it. When you look back at it, they should have did it. It's too many times to count where Marty has literally predicted what's going to happen, but because of his nature of not being aggressive or commanding, and always just like falling second fiddle to Wendy or Ruth or any of the other characters that are in the show at the time, whatever dilemma may be, he just falls back to them and lets it play out. And that it really got on my nerves because there was at one point with season 4, early in season 4, Marty goes down to Mexico. No, it was season 3. It was season 3. Season 3, Marty goes down to Mexico because Navarro is locked up. And they're trying to keep this on the hush hush, so the cartel don't know that he's actually, well, they know he's locked up, but they don't know that he's like out of commission type of deal. And so what happens is he goes down to Mexico to basically call the shots, and he has to make a decision to kill somebody. Scratch that, it was season 4. But he has to make the decision to kill somebody because he thinks he found the rat that ended up trying to call the hit on Navarro. And it really messed him up, like when he found out that he got the wrong person. But you still saw that like that was actual commanding Marty. Like he was still a little bit, on the edge. But I mean, it wouldn't make sense for him to just be straight up ruthless, cold killer type mentality the entire time. He played his part well. He did what he needed to do, which was great. But the issue was when he came back to the States, back to his family, that all went down the drain. He no longer, basically how you would say, had a backbone. The moment he would say something, Wendy would try and critique it or give him flack for it, and he would just immediately just back down. That was what I found was a super big issue. Now, most people would have an issue with Wendy, right? Which, do not get me wrong, Wendy was by far the most evil and the most annoying character in all of this series. But her annoyingness is due to Marty's lack of input, the lack of like command. He was the one that empowered it. He constantly said, "I'll be the passenger. I'll take a back seat to you," which later on, like 3rd season and on, it felt like it went from being Marty as the main character to Wendy as the main character, which I don't know how other people might feel because, like I said, I came to the show a little bit later, so I didn't get to see like the ongoing chatter and how the reception of it was. But I feel like that was a big no, because like we saw Marty get us into this stuff. We saw Marty doing things to get us out of this stuff, and it just felt like eventually at the end everything became Wendy, with a slight Ruth here and there, and then Jonah in the mix. But Jonah was tied into the loop with Ruth, and but he was like, Marty was the biggest issue I had because his character didn't know where it wanted to go. At one point he was like, smart, coming up with everything. Like he was able to figure everything out, get it done, no matter what like issues popped up. But things didn't happen that way throughout the series. I mean, later on in the series, he becoming a yes man, a do boy basically, And even when he had chances to redeem himself, he didn't. You saw that one scene late in the 4th season where he got out the car and beat the guy up because he was basically like holding in all the emotion from Wendy, basically just ruining their situation even more and more because she always made the wrong decision when she never listened to him. She never cared for his input. But I'll get deeper into actually like the characters and like why they are the way they are in another video. But the other thing that I had an issue with the series was the fact that it never concluded, basically. I'm putting this for a fact. You can look that up. And a lot of people are like trying to figure out like, why did it just end abruptly? It ended more like it was going to be a 6th season or 5th season. Like it felt like there was going to be something more, but this is actually the end. So there is no more Ozark after this, and it just wrapped up very quickly. And if you've ever seen The Sopranos, it kind of tried to do that with the whole, shot to black. The only difference is with The Sopranos, it didn't do like the whole gunshot thing. You just had to like figure out what actually happened, or you just were set to wonder what happened. But with Ozark, it just felt really abrupt, like not Game of Thrones levels of abrupt, but it was pretty quick. The last episode of the season definitely did not feel like a series finale. That's enough of the negative. So some of the good things that I felt Ozark did very well is in the later season, I should say, there's usually always consequences outside of the main characters. Well, the main characters, meaning the Bird family. With that being said, is there was always a consequence to the actions. Like the main culprit is being Ruth and Darlene. Darlene had been a horrible character since she was being introduced. I'm pretty sure a lot of people hated her, and she mellowed out second and third season a little bit until she started popping up as like an ongoing like thread late third season going into the fourth season. And we know what ended up happening to her. She ended up dying. Unfortunately, Wyatt was there with her, but it was very symbolic when you look back at how she died and how he died. When you look at it, she was shot in the heart, symbolic for, her heart, her emotions always fucked her up, right? Or she didn't have a heart, I should say, but and then Wyatt was shot in the head because he was always being told he was smart, he's super smart, but he just made the wrong decisions. He didn't actually use his brain to think the situation. Like literally the day he gets married, the next day after he gets married, he dies. If he would just listen to Ruth, they would have been gone. There was always a consequence for the actions. Ruth, sadly, was the one character everybody was rooting for because even though she was not a perfect person, when she was introduced, she stole the main character's money. She was a thief. She had felonies and whatnot. But what you could tell when watching the final season is it was definitely leading up to she was gonna die. It just made perfect sense. A lot of people might try and say that it didn't make sense, but she died for a good reason and she stayed true to who she was at the very end. She didn't make like any excuses at the end. She didn't beg for her life or anything. That's what I felt like. She was by far the best character out of the entire series because she stayed who she was from the beginning. She was loyal for the most part to Marty almost through and through. Marty could have been a little bit better to her, but he was still, that's another thing to get into. But it was sad what happened to Ruth, but that's just it's actual good thing because the show was actually showing consequences for most things. Like she had to die. She killed Javi. She had been crossing the cartel with the other businesses. And it was just like she was a competitor towards that stage. And unfortunately she had to lose her life. But other good things that I have about the show to say about the show is it was entertaining because a lot of shows sometimes have a issue grabbing you and like having you emotionally invested. Like a lot of times, like Wendy being the main one was like a lot of times you're literally looking at her and you're like just getting mad. You're just like, bro, what is she doing? Like, can we get rid of her? There was plenty of times, like I told you, I'm not big on spoilers. So I was watching the series and I legit Googled, when does Wendy die? Or does Wendy die? And so I knew that she wasn't going to die, sadly. I know I ruined it for myself, but I just, I don't really care too much about spoilers. But it was pretty saddening to know that she didn't die. But that's a good thing about the show, having a character like a Joffrey from Game of Thrones or Cersei's from Game of Thrones as well, that you just like actually get mad and you're like, bro, what? Like, you're making these dumb decisions. Can you, like, somebody handle her? You just handle him? Do something, where you actually start to actually feel some type of emotion towards that character. Same way where Marty, you felt bad for him. You would see the decisions being made and you're just like, damn, poor Marty, But the series itself was a good watch. I binged it. I binged the first 2 seasons and then took like a week or 2 off, and then I caught back up on it. So it held my interest and my attention. Excuse me. But it really held my attention, and I would recommend it to a lot of people, especially people that like anything to do with like crime or like detective stuff. And the only other thing that I'd say is I didn't like the way Navarro was handled. Like Navarro, the way he went was and it all falls back into the whole. It was super abrupt. It made no sense to me whatsoever how he literally just went. And there was no real closure behind it. Like, I feel like it should have been some type of closure. It should have been some type of, like, he should have known what was happening. But it still comes back to that whole consequences thing. Like, he made that call saying, say that I killed her. And then everything went downhill. And then he was like, oh, no, but I didn't kill him. But it was too late. The play was in motion to get him out of there. So, fortunately, he had to go. And towards the end, you start at different points of the series, you actually feel some type of connection with Navarro because when he's losing the war, he's kind of vulnerable. That's why he's calling Wendy, and he's like kind of not confiding in her, but he's trying to latch on to something outside of the cartel to give him maybe a little bit of hope, and that's what Wendy gives him. But it just never works out for him in the end, unfortunately, and he meets his end. But like I said, y'all, man, this video is going on almost 20 minutes now, and I'm going to have to chop it up a little bit, But, I just wanted to get this out here. My review of it, like I said, was about a 7 out of 10. It definitely wasn't the best show I watched. Wasn't the worst one. It was a little bit above average. It was good. I'd recommend somebody to go watch it. And another cool thing I liked about the show was at the very beginning of every episode how it has the O, and it would just like have 4 different symbols on there, and the symbols would be related to something that happens within the episode. I always felt that kind of cool because like during the actual episode, like someone's episode would start, I'd see a symbol or whatever, like it'd have like fire, a baby in a cart, and then like a guitar or something, like, it's just a little small stuff like that. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, dang, all right, where's this gonna pop at later on? And I would, like, when it would happen in the show, I'd be like, oh, that's what that was for. You know what I'm saying? So, but it was really cool to, like, just something small to pick up on and just think about. But all right, y'all, I appreciate y'all tuning in to the video. If you like it, drop a like, comment, subscribe. Tell me if you would want me to go back and review the actual seasons by themselves, to get actually more in depth, because this was kind of like what I liked, what I disliked, what I rated it type of deal. So I can definitely go further deep into it and covering like season 1 Marty and Dale's issues, season 2 with Helen, season 3 with Helen again, and Navarro actually making a scene and whatnot. But all right, peace.